I want to attempt a whole new challenge of like incorporating not just lifting, but also diet. They both know what they're talking about. A little bit, yeah. I mean, not in terms of like social media wise, but a lot of it is the lifestyle modification and the dieting process for sure.
All
All
right.
right.
All right.
Sounds good.
Game on now.
All right.
All right. So, Justin, it's nice catching up with you again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tell me and tell the audience a little bit about yourself and then what got you into doing bodybuilding in med school.
Okay, so hi guys, my name is Justin. I'm a current M3 with Kartik at California North State School of Medicine. Um, my hobbies include just really bodybuilding and doing medicine. Don't really have much time for other things, but so what got me into bodybuilding actually, I would say. I think it started in college. So I always like went to the gym back in high school.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I was on the varsity football team and
Wow.
genuinely like, for context, I'm like a 5'9" Asian guy, which is not exactly your prototypical, varsity high school football player. So, being undersized, I always felt like I needed to like have an extra edge somewhere. So luckily I like tried to be as strong as possible in the gym, hoping some of that would like translate or protect me on the field. And so after high school football, I had a pretty successful career there,
Mhm.
in my opinion. And then I went to college and I joined the rugby team.
Wow.
And so kind of a similar situation, just a smaller guy. But then as I got older, I started to realize that the impact of like whacking my head against other people, especially I knew, I wanted to do medicine and medicine. I mean,
Head whacking, not a good
yeah,
thing.
you gotta be, you have to be quick. You gotta be quick mentally. And I actually suffered like 2 or 3 concussions leading up to my decision, but I could feel actually my mind getting slower, like my mental arithmetic got worse. My short-term memory got worse. Like nowadays, I nowadays I have a problem like I'll put down the phone and forget where I put it. I used to never have that problem before the concussions. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna slow down. I still want to stay active. I still enjoy the challenge. So I want to do bodybuilding, or I want to just lift weights, and then. I first started off powerlifting because I just wanted to be as strong as possible, and I love eating. And powerlifting sounds great to any like quote unquote gym bro because all you need to do is like eat a lot, which is fine by me. I love to eat burgers, chips, perfect. And then training for powerlifting, it's not really cardio intensive. I never liked cardio, and you lift like you work in sets or rep ranges between like 1 to 5.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, you know, I enjoy getting stronger, but then I always thought like, why was I like like in the back of my mind, I always appreciated like a lean physique, like toned six packs, like bodybuilders, like the Arnold Schwarzeneggers.
Mhm.
I used to steal a lot of my training from, some of the great bodybuilders like Dorian Yates, Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler, Tom Platz, actually. Um, and then I figured, okay, even though I really like food and I like lifting like reps with 1 to 5, I want to like, for me, the hardest challenge would be to like diet down and like reshape my body into looking more aesthetically pleasing because I've always struggled with like food and binge eating. Whenever I would be stressed, I would binge eat. I sometimes still do, which is like a problem I'm still working on. So I was like, okay, let's see if I can like refocus my life into doing something I've never completely tried before and kind of like incorporating, like turning this into a lifestyle, incorporating like every aspect of my life into it. So I want to, attempt a whole new challenge of like incorporating not just lifting, but also diet and lifestyle modifications, making sure my sleep is dialed in, like every aspect of my life to achieve like a certain physique. And so that's how I got started. Yeah.
Okay. So you started powerlifting, you said. Did you like do competitions in powerlifting?
No, I didn't, but I got like very strong. I definitely could have participated in competitions. I think the problem was at the time. So I really got into powerlifting like my senior year of college, but that was COVID.
Okay.
So no, and that was also in Rochester, New York, which is like a place kind of in the middle of nowhere. So not a lot of like local, I mean, I'm sure there are local competitions, but they didn't really interest me. And then it was like the beginning half of medical school where I was like, oh, maybe I could still keep going to like a powerlifting competition. But at that point, I was already pretty satisfied with how strong I got. And my mind was already shifting towards
Towards getting lean and stuff.
Yeah, and being a bodybuilder.
Okay. Yeah, before we get into like you talking about how you did the bodybuilding stuff, like for powerlifting, how did you learn how to do that? Did you have coaches? Did you have people? Like, what did you do?
Oh, absolutely not. So, yeah, obviously everybody's lifting journey is different, but I think everybody has the same journey of in the beginning, you just try a bunch of shit you see online and, do your best to lift with good form and, or don't, ego lifting is a part of being a beginner. Everybody has to go through that phase. Or not has to, but, young man in his like 20s, yeah, you're definitely going through that phase. Yeah, so I just learned from like the other gym bros, learned from what I saw online, and then slowly progressed the weight that way.
Okay. Interesting. What did you use from online to like help yourself?
For powerlifting, really just any random YouTube videos, but for bodybuilding, I really started delving deep into the science-based lifting approaches. Now, there's like essentially two camps where one's like, oh, the science-based approach is the only way, and then the other camp is, oh, like just do what feels right, do what all the old school guys did. And I'm sure honestly, it's a blend of both, right? But I would highly recommend a man by the name of Jeff Nippard on YouTube. His videos are kind of like short breakdowns of what the literature out there is popular with. But once you start lifting, and I would say maybe like 2 to 3 years, maybe even, or 2 to 3 years, and once you really start getting into lifting and the science behind it and really the fine details of it, Renaissance Periodization is a YouTube channel run by Dr. Mike Israetel, who is a PhD of sports science. And he works, and that channel was also started by him and another man called Jared Feather, who is also PhD in sports science. And they are genuine hardcore bodybuilders. Jared Feather is an IFBB pro. He's a professional bodybuilder. So they both know what they're talking about, and they have tons of great information. So they're free, like college course, like 14 like 50-minute lectures on advanced training modalities. That is like absolutely fantastic to watch, all for free. So that's what I watch for myself.
Okay, so you use only that for your bodybuilding stuff?
Those two. What else? Oh, that, and then there was a podcast of actually a fellow physician. His name is Dr. Swole, online, but his real name is Bill Wong, or Dr. Bill Wong. He's actually a radiologist at the University of British Columbia.
Wow.
And so his podcast, he'll interview a lot of the prominent figures in the fitness industry, especially prominent figures who are mainly bodybuilding coaches or bodybuilders themselves. And he provides also tons of insight into, the philosophies of training.
Okay. Are you trying to be Dr. Swole Part 2?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, not in terms of like social media wise, but I think ideally, so I'll be returning to so I competed like November 5th of this year. Really enjoyed it, but I didn't place as well as I hoped. So I think in like 2 to 3 years, I'd like to really try to dive deep and try to get a pro card.
Okay, cool. That sounds good. So how long was this bodybuilding journey? Like, I know you said you were doing powerlifting up to the end of college time, and then I know in med school you were like working out a lot, but like when did you make that transition to like focus on this?
So literally after the first half of first half of the year of medical school, I would say almost like December or like January, sometime around there, that's when I decided I wanted to fully commit to bodybuilding. Like no more like no more like powerlifting, or no more like just being a gym bro. I wanted to like be a bodybuilder. And so so it was from that point until now, which is like the beginning of third year, which is how long I've been doing bodybuilding. So not very long. It's only been like
a year and a half.
It's only been a year and a half when I've really fully committed to like bodybuilding.
What differences, like for me as someone who's not like fully delved into bodybuilding, like what differences is it when you start delving into bodybuilding versus just being a gym bro?
I think a lot of it is the lifestyle modification and the dieting process for a show. I think that, bulking season is pretty much, you can do a clean bulk or a dirty bulk, and gym bros and bodybuilders, pretty much everyone during the winter can pull that off, and everyone has like direct programming. But I think the lifestyle modification for the dieting for the show is like a huge difference. So I need to start, dialing in my sleep, dialing in my diet, making sure I'm not overly fatiguing myself with my training. And especially for a bodybuilding competition, the diet is so restrictive within the last, like, I would say 6 weeks of preparation leading up to the show, that it really like starts to affect it's not just, oh, I go to the gym anymore. This is my all-consuming lifestyle to like dedicate to this one goal. I think that's really the major difference. Is the gym bro can just leave it at the gym, go, leave, have a burger, enjoy life. Whereas the bodybuilder, if they're in competition prep, same meals or like
back to back.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're doing this diet stuff, what's the goal? Is to like get all the water weight out? Like, what are you trying to do? Trying to get the fat as low as possible?
Yeah. So basically, a joke I've heard is bodybuilding competitions are like a fasting competition. So basically, you want to have as much muscle on your frame that is symmetric and proportional, while being as low body fat as possible. And generally what happens is once you dip below like that 10% body fat limit, that's when it starts to get like pretty unhealthy, and you do start to suffer some like negative side effects of being in such like a calorie deficit.
Okay. Did you notice any differences yourself when you were doing all the fast?
Oh, for sure. I think it was like 4 weeks out, so a month out, I started noticing decreases in energy. Like I had no energy, lots of fatigue, strength decreases, which will naturally happen because you're losing weight, right? So mass moves mass. And
Mhm.
so as you lose like a lot of weight, the weights in the gym that you move are
Yeah.
gonna go down. Actually, a lot of hormonal changes. Um, you know, like essentially no libido. I lost a lot of that, no libido, and sleep problems, which is weird because you would think like, oh, if you're fatigued all the time, you're gonna sleep well, but I would need to start like pounding melatonin just to get to bed because my body would try to wake me up because it was so hungry for food.
Wow. Okay. So you
Yeah.
guys are starving yourself
Yeah, you're essentially torturing yourself
a few
for
weeks.
your hobby for yeah, 8 weeks or
How
a
many
month.
calories are you deficiting like per day for you? How many did you do?
So I tried to actually take it very slow. So I had a 20-week prep and I lost 20 pounds over those 20 weeks.
Pound a week.
Um, so at the beginning of the prep, so generally it's like advised losing about 1% of your body fat per week is like um acceptable for basically minimal muscle loss. And so that usually is around like 500 calories below your maintenance. Um, as I got lower and lower, obviously, like when you start off at the beginning and then you do your like depletion of calories, you can lose up to like 1.5% a week and you can still maintain muscle. But the leaner you get, the more of that curve like inverses. So you'll lose like 1% and that'll be like, oh, like your strength will go down like crazy. So, but I think, you know, as you approach the competition in the last 2 weeks, I was in like an 800 to 900 calorie deficit from my maintenance,
Wow.
near getting closer to the show.
Okay. And then you kind of talked about it, but like from your experience now, what do you think is like the best way for fat loss? Because you said like 500 is a good limit for not having muscle loss, but what do you think is like a good standard diet for?
So, in terms of standard diet, there isn't one really. I think the most important thing is tracking calories. You know, we both took human physiology. It's thermogenics, you know, calories in minus calories out. As long as you're consuming less than what you're expending in a day, you're going to lose weight. For me personally, I think weight loss is the difficulty of weight loss, I think that most people have is like adherence to diet and trying to not rebound. So generally, like the rebound and the lack of adherence comes from when your ghrelin levels are like spiking in your body because you know ghrelin levels are part of like your basic like
Yeah.
human hormonal instincts to which you know for the listeners out there, it's basically the hormone that gets produced that creates hunger within your body. And so if you're spiking that level too high, you're inevitably gonna like binge eat again, or you're gonna you're gonna like after you finish your diet, your ghrelin levels will be so high that you'll just start like rebound eating and then you'll gain all the weight back. I'm sure you've heard this from a lot of people who've like cut drastic amounts of weight that after their diet they'll rebound back. So I think just slow and steady is the best way to go. I would say like find your maintenance and maybe like 500 if you want to lose like a lot of weight. I would say maybe even 300, 400 calories below your maintenance. Try that out for a few weeks in terms of like what you need to eat. Maybe, you know, if you're not a bodybuilder or if you're not like if you're just trying to lose weight naturally, just play around with spacing out your meals throughout the day, you know, maybe like do like a 8-hour fast in between like lunch and dinner or eat more satiating foods like larger volume foods like salads, you know, more you know that or eggs or like fish where you get a lot more volume of food for less amount of calories. And I think those like small little natural changes would help you lose weight rather than just like big like calorie slashes. or anything like that.
So you think slow and steady is the move over?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Slow and steady is definitely this. I think that also applies with cardio. I think a lot of people have the impression where you need to have like high intensity interval training or there's like lots of cardio to lose weight. The problem with that is like if you ever like hop on like a cardio machine and you just start running, like you have to run for like 20 minutes to burn off like 120 calories, which is like nothing, right? And it's like, oh my God, I just ran for 20 minutes. Like I just killed myself on this treadmill, and you have like tons of fatigue build up, and and eventually you don't want to do it because it's like super tiring. I would say like just try to increase your like your resting metabolic rate throughout the day. So just try to like stand up, walk around a lot, take like 10-minute walks throughout the neighborhood in between whatever you're doing, or just try to just walk, just in general walk more, get your step count higher, and I think that that'll be a more natural way for you to like increase the calories burned throughout the day. Because I think people think the issue of like going to the gym and losing weight is like, oh, I have to like go to the gym, like grind it out, pound it hard. But in reality, it's really small incremental changes that'll really make the difference over the long term.
Okay. So you're saying be more active in general instead of just like, pushing yourself just at the gym for like 30 minutes or something.
Yeah, be more active in general. Not saying like one's more efficient than the other. I'm sure 30 minutes is really efficient, but like realistically, especially if like we're in medical school, but if the other people who are listening to this lead busy lives, it's like, imagine getting home from a long day from surgery, like 12-hour shift, and then you sit there and you're like, oh, I gotta go like grind out 30 minutes of running.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, that's true. Speaking of which, in med school, like how did you even do this? How did you keep up working out, especially the first 2 years when we had a bunch of studying, and then now rotations we're not even like in like one spot?
Oh yeah. Honestly, I think just like everything important to you in your life, like you have to prioritize it, right? Like let's say like people always have time for family, right? And so I'm just prioritizing the gym. I'll like make sure I like work into my schedule. I'll make sure I plan out my studying around it. I make it a significant priority in my life where, because it's something I enjoy, and it's something that I'm trying to like maintain for the rest of my life. Now, in terms of medical school, man, I just think I'm kind of like a very boring person. Like I don't really have that many hobbies outside of going to the gym. A lot of our classmates are like extremely multi-talented. Like one classmate of ours, Johan, he can play the guitar, he's a barista. He also knows how to make like cocktails. It's like he's an incredible human being. Like I didn't develop any of those talents because I only do two things. I study, go to the gym, hang out with friends, and then go to bed. So I think that's
really good at both of them.
Yeah, I try. I think, yeah, I guess you do have to sacrifice, like, you can't have it all. Like if you wanna go to the gym and like, I don't know what your goals are, but being aesthetic or being strong, like, yeah, maybe you'll have to give up like video games, or maybe you'll have to give up like give up stuff.
That makes sense. Habits, it's just all about priorities, habits, and what you want to do.
I will say though, for like the habits, I think a lot of people are like, oh, like the mental stress of going to the gym is like very hard, but once you start, like, what was it? The habits created in 14 days. Like once you start and get it going, and you make sure you're not like forcing yourself to be at the gym for like more than an hour, right? I think that the mental strain of like, oh, needing to go really disappears, and it kind of becomes routine.
Also, I think on top of that, like instead of like killing yourself at those first few sessions, if you're just taking it like easier, like moderate, then you're like,
Yeah.
you want to go back. But if you kill yourself the first day you go there, it's like, why would I go back?
Oh, I totally agree with you. I feel like, there's a lot of people who like go to the gym, they're like, I really want to work out. They leave the gym and they're just overtrained. They're super sore and they can barely get through their next workout. And then they skip like a few and they're like, oh, well, I skipped a few and then I'll skip the rest.
Yeah, it's just a whole cycle. You got to start out slow and steady, but I don't know. Most people don't understand the slow and steady. They like going really fast at first and then just crash and burn.
Because they want those like immediate results.
Yeah.
Whereas like surprisingly, I think a lot of like beginner gym goers really only need to hit the gym like 2 to 3 times a week in the beginning.
Why so?
Well, okay, so the research has shown basically you'll get like 80% of your growth potentiation and muscle growth um with a minimum of 10 sets for the week of that muscle group,
10
right?
seconds.
Yeah, you get 80%. Now, this is like controversial, but this was I remember hearing this on one of Jeff Nippard's like minimalist training program videos.
Mhm.
And so, especially if you're a beginner, basically you'll like touch a weight and then your strength and your growth will start to go because your body is really not used to that stimulus.
Mhm.
And so I would say like, hitting 10 sets a week for each muscle group is like extremely doable.
Mhm.
Like, that's like, let's say that's 5 sets of bench spread between 2 days. So if you hit the gym like 3 times a day or 3 times a week, you could definitely fit in like 2 sets of 5 sets of bench within those 3 days, like very easily.
Mhm.
So, I just think that people should always err on the caution of like training less rather than training more, especially when they're starting out, because also like their form, especially when you're a beginner, might be very suspect.
Mhm.
And overtraining leads to a lot more injuries in more beginner lifters. You'll hear people like, oh, like I like hurt my shoulder benching. It's like, well, like what were you doing? Oh, like sets of like 3 for like 90% of like my maximum weight. And it's like, dude, like your form's not even dialed in. You've been doing this for like a year at most. It's like dial back, you can still achieve the growth you want without breaking your body.
So what would you say? You said a year is still beginner, so I'm kind of curious, what's your take on like what are people that are like experienced in a gym count as? Like how many years do you need? And then how many years have you been doing this for?
Well, okay. That's kind of a mean statement, like a year you're a beginner. Like I would say like you're a beginner when you're working, when you don't know your form and you're learning the form and you're learning what works for your body. You're an intermediate when you've hit your first plateau and you're starting to figure out, what you need to do to overcome that plateau. And beyond that, I would say you're advanced. I would say generally for most people, like for the average human being, and I do consider myself to be like a pretty average guy. Like, your first 2 years will be at the beginning stage. It's a lot like the Dunning-Kruger effect, like maybe after your second year, you'd be like, I know what I'm doing. But then once you start going back down on the Dunning-Kruger effect, I'd say that's when you're an intermediate. And that's like 3 to 4 years and then 4+ years. I'd say if you've been doing anything for 4+ years, you should be pretty advanced at whatever you're doing. If you're always constantly trying to learn and improve. Me personally, I've been training for about 5 years now. We'll just say 5 and some, but 5 years.
So 5 years constant in the gym.
Yeah, 5 years constantly. I think the longest break I ever took off of the gym was 2 weeks. And I feel like, I've always been trying to improve, learn more, be better. Yeah, do my best. But in fact, I recently found out recent bodybuilding competition that 5 years is not a very long time, as all my competitors were like 8 to 10 years into lifting, and I was like, well, you guys start when you're like 15? What's going on here?
Tell me a little bit about the people. Like, where are they from? What did they do?
Oh, it's incredible. Like you'll meet such an interesting array of people. So I competed. So for context, I compete in the WNBF or INBF. So that's the International Natural Bodybuilding Federation. I am a drug-free bodybuilder. I don't look down on anybody who does enhanced training, and in fact, I actually respect them a lot more because they basically have committed a lot more to their bodies. But I personally, if I'm not making money off my body, I'm just doing this as a hobby. I'm not gonna harmonically engineer myself in any way. But so you'll meet a range of people. So a lot of the guys there, were around my age, about like 23, 24. Come from all walks of life. Some of them are engineers. Some of them are Starbucks baristas. One of them was another medical student, actually, who I met. He was a second year he's from Kaiser Medical School. His name is Alex Argame. If he ever sees this podcast, hello, pleasure meeting you. He's an amazing guy. He was like an RN for like 8 years or something like that, and then decided to apply to medical school at the age of like 29 or like 30, mainly because like he wants to go and be a cosmetic surgeon.
Oh, okay. And he's a bodybuilder.
And he's a bodybuilder, and he's better than me, and he's amazing. So, you really meet like people from all walks of life, but I think everyone's like really friendly because we all like travel the same path essentially. We all know what it was like to start off barely being able to bench the bar. We all know what it's like to like, we've all been there. And so everyone's just like very down to earth, very nice, very supportive, And it's hard to have a big ego when your hobby really is you're lubing yourself up to go prance around on the podium in front of people half naked in the Speedo. So, really, how toxic masculinity can you really get if that's your hobby?
Did you have to learn all the poses and stuff beforehand? Like, were you practicing them?
Oh, yeah. So, posing is like one of the most important parts of bodybuilding. So I think I practiced like every night for at least like 10 to 20 minutes for like the 2 months leading up to the show.
Wow. Okay. So like making sure, taking pictures and stuff.
Yeah, making sure, taking pictures, taking videos. I did hire a coach, but we were kind of on different pages. But it's always good to have just like another unbiased set of eyes on your physique, because like obviously the body dysmorphia will come into effect if you're competing in a competition, which is literally you staring at your own body saying, what could I improve on?
Yeah, that's very true. So when you're like doing this, was this mainly on your own? Like you said, you just hired a coach for a little bit, but like, was that most of it was your own stuff?
Yeah, pretty much it was me. It was me, myself, and I. I will give credit to my coach, but she was remote most of the time, and it's just really like yourself and you locked in your little own world. I think there's a good quote by like there's a good saying in bodybuilding that's it's the loneliest sport in the world, because it's just you and the iron and your diet, and there's no one around you that can help you with that.
So how do you keep yourself motivated like throughout this time?
That's a good question. I think I had a lot of support. So like during pediatrics, I would actually like Esther Chang, our president. So like we would have like 2 hour like calls where we would like do work together. And so just having somebody in a FaceTime would help me motivate me to like keep studying. But yeah, no, I'm not gonna lie. There's like times where my mental health was like severely affected by doing this, and I'd often question myself, like, why am I doing this? I don't want to do this anymore. This is stupid. But I think staying motivated is also, a part of like the discipline of it, and that's where it really comes in. Like, if you're a true, if you're a true player of the game, where the discipline gets very hard, especially like when you're by yourself in medical school, and there's no really way around it other than you just gotta grit your teeth and get through it.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like it's vital, like having people support you like you did, because if it's only you, I don't know, might be mentally unstable.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's a very mentally taxing sport for those, and especially the people around you, because you're going to be cranky, you're going to be pissed off, you're going to be just genuinely a non-pleasant human being to hang around because you're starving yourself. And people are going to be like, well, this guy's starving himself, he's being cranky and irritable, and I did nothing wrong. He's just doing this to himself for his like
his own hobby.
his personal hobby. It's like, it's tough. It's definitely an interesting sport. It's a extreme sport for sure.
Seems like it, yeah. The fasting for like 8 weeks, and then you did it for 20. Yeah.
Well, most people's like preps like begin 16 weeks out.
16 weeks out. Okay. So basically, you're bulking up until that fasting phase.
Depending, people usually go through like mini bulk, mini cut cycles throughout the whole year. And then they get to like a weight that's like manageable, and then they start their prep.
Okay.
But that's all like a learning process that even right now, I'm still learning, because I started way too chunky and I didn't get nearly lean enough for my competition, because I just started off way too big.
Interesting. So what is really big in bodybuilding? It's like body fat percentage wise.
Oh, I mean, I was like at 8%, 7%. I think I was 7%, but I think ideally I would have gone down to 5.
Okay. And the competition's around 5, 4, like.
Yeah, the winner, he was like 5 or 4%. Yeah, he was sub 5% for sure.
Yeah. That's scary low.
Yeah. And there's like markers for it too. It's like if you can see if you can see veins on your abdomen and striations in your glutes, that's when you know like you're lean enough for the show.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. So where do you see yourself like going forward with this? How many shows are you planning to do? How long are you trying to do this?
Yeah, so definitely don't think I'll be able to do a show every year, especially with how taxing it is and how long it takes, like 4 months basically. And especially in medical school. And I think, quite frankly, I enjoy life. I like hanging out with my friends, I like having the drink or two here and there, and I like, eating well and feasting. So I think I'll probably go back first year of residency, so in 2 years, and I'll try to make a plan to like compete every 2 years. And yeah, try my best. But
is the goal to win one of them? Goal to like what's the goal?
Oh yeah, the goal at the end of the day is to get my pro card, which is I feel like, being an MD and a professional bodybuilder, kind of a massive flex.
That is a massive flex.
And it's my hobby. It's something I love to do, and there's no reason why I can't just do my best at what I love, right?
Yeah, that's true. Would you what was that?
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, would you like want to be a coach later on down the road when you're a little bit older, like 40s, 50s? Would you like be a coach for new bodybuilders?
Coach? I think I wouldn't mind being a coach, but I wouldn't like actively be one, because I think I'd want my career in medicine to be the priority, right? But yeah, I'm happy to just like coach my friends for free and help them talk through whatever they need about fitness for free. Because I feel like the knowledge I have is meant to be shared and enjoyed by all, and not really like, you know, like held. Like I feel like I just I don't know. That's a good question. And no, I think I'll be a coach, but I won't ask anyone to pay. Just like do it for free.
Okay, okay, got it, cool. I did have another question I had.
Yeah.
It was more of a personal question. So if someone's stuck at like a certain body fat, like I've been stuck at like that's the same amount. What suggestion do you have to make? Like I can I bulk myself a little bit, but I can't seem to get that nice slim down.
Okay, so I think there's, well, two questions I want to ask you. So how long have you been dealing with this problem? And then do you know your maintenance calories and how many calories you're intaking?
Okay, yeah. So I've been probably dealing with this like forever.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't like strictly follow the calorie intake that I have, but I
Mhm.
believe my maintenance was around 2300-ish, less than that.
300?
I think
Okay.
it's changed because I've been gaining weight the past couple of months, and every week or every like 2, 3 weeks, it's a little bit up. So I think I need to update that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how, how's your stress been on your sleep?
Sleep's totally fine. I'm always a good sleeper. I think stress for sure has
Mhm.
gone up this third year. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. That's tough. So actually, big reasons why people like maintain the weight they're at, even if they're like on a calorie deficit. One is like metabolic damage, right? If you're in too much of a calorie deficit for too long, body starts actually adapting to it, and so what you may think is 2300 might just become like 2000 calories, but that's just because your body's like adjusted to the deficit, and you won't even realize it. But like even the small tasks you'll do throughout the day, like maybe just shaking in your chair or like getting up and walking around, you'll be doing that less as your body like adapts to that like lower metabolism level because you've been on like such a prolonged cut. So
Mhm.
that's one thing. If you've been on a prolonged cut for more than, I would say, if you've been more on a more than like 4 to 8 weeks on the fat loss diet, that's not sustainable, and your body's metabolism will naturally adjust to that. So I would say stop going on that like fat loss phase and either like go back to your quote unquote maintenance or start like, all right, yeah, just go back to your quote unquote maintenance. Number two is really watch what you eat and drink on the weekends. Definitely just like one bad day of like drinking or eating or just having like really high calorie dense foods like a bag of chips, that can like actually erase your work for like the past like 3 to 4 days, right?
Okay.
Because if you're in a calorie, let's say you're like at a maintenance of like 2500 calories, right? And then you're just doing that like straight up, like, and maybe you dip a little, 500 on Monday, 500 on Thursday, and you're down like 1000 calories by the time you get to the weekend. Let's say you have like 2 bags of chips and like an ice cream. That's going to be like 2000 3000 calories that'll absolutely crush whatever deficit you had before. So one advice is definitely watch what you're eating on the weekends. And if you're feeling the need that on the weekends you need to hop off of a diet plan and binge eat or eat chips, try to like incorporate those like treats like throughout the week during Monday through Friday. That way you'll have like less of an inclination of wanting to like, oh, it's like the weekend, I'm just gonna like eat a lot.
Okay.
The last thing I recommend is definitely track your calories if it's really important to you that you want to lose the weight and you want to actually make sure you do lose it. Track everything that you eat. Definitely buy a food scale and weigh everything. It gets kind of like monotonous and really annoying, but if you do it for 14 days, it becomes like a lot less annoying. Get a calorie tracker food app. I just use MyFitnessPal. It's fine. Um, I just throw everything in there, weigh out my food, and as long as you're staying below that, like 500 calories and 2300 is like 1800. So if you're like hitting 1800 for 7 days a week, and you've done that for 2 to 3 weeks, and you that'll, in my opinion, that's the best way, or the most likely way you'll break through your plateau for sure.
Yeah, because I've tried to like lose weight in the past and I lose weight, it's fine, but I stay around the same body fat. I feel like I lose muscle instead. I lose strength.
Oh, is it it might be because your weight loss is too deep. Maybe you're so generally when people say like their maintenance is like at 23, Kartik, how tall are you?
I'm 5'10".
It should be more like 2500.
It might be 25 now because of the weight gain.
Well, it's also because you also have to factor in your step count throughout the day.
Oh, my step count is very low, dude. I'm standing up at standing desks all day, but like I don't walk a lot.
Yeah, but even standing compared to sitting will burn like an extra 100 to 200 calories. So if your deficit's too low, your body is just gonna it'll waste away and not cut the fat like it's supposed to.
Okay. Well, I just did a BMR right now. This
Yeah.
does not seem right at all. It's just 1772. I don't think that's the right one.
17% body fat?
No, 1700 calories, 1770 calories. I don't think that's right.
Yeah, that's one thing that maintenance is like, that's the tough part to do it. It's like you really have to, if you want to find your true maintenance, you have to track everything for a few weeks and see how it fluctuates up and down, right? I think that's the hardest part about like, I guess like proper like dedicated weight loss is you have to spend the time to, I guess, sit there and spend like 15 minutes out of your day to input food into an app. Like it's a pain in the ass, but it needs to be done. Calories in, calories out. Yeah.
Okay, a quick thing on that. So
Yeah.
I pretty much eat the same thing all the time, except weekends when I go home, we might have some restaurant food.
Yeah.
So I know my calories for the morning milkshake I always have. My lunches are pretty much the same. And so what I didn't like calculate the exact calories, but I cut out around 360 calories of oats. That's the only thing I cut out the past couple of weeks. And keeping everything the same, with my weekends being very variable, like with the restaurant food. What do you think about that?
I think that's a fine idea. You're still hitting the gym, right?
I don't go to the gym. I have dumbbells and stuff at home.
That's also, you don't need to hit the gym to get an amazing pump and a great workout. So I think that's absolutely fine. One thing I would caution though is like, actually no, 360 calories is good. Just make sure your protein's like high enough, right?
Yeah, my protein's probably a 1 gram per body weight, I think. Look at that.
Yeah, that's perfect. Going even higher than that doesn't do any harm. But actually, one thing that might help with weight loss is because protein is very high in satiety. You can actually go a little higher in the protein, and that might keep you full for longer, make you eat a little less during like the rest of your meals.
Okay. Yeah.
Like one hack I do on the weekend is like, if I know on the weekend I'm going out to eat and I need to hit my protein for that day, I try to like only intake protein throughout that day. And usually by the time I hit that like one like special meal at night, I'll be like, at pretty like mid-level of like fullness, because the protein is just like causing a lot of like gas in the stomach, stress reflex, decreasing like the hunger.
Okay. All right. I might hit you up on diet soon.
For sure, man. I think I've helped a few of our classmates out with diet, so, and it's worked out. So, not saying I know what I'm doing, but I definitely feel like if there's one person in our class who knows how to diet, it's probably me.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. One last thing before we go, more of a reflection for yourself. how do you think bodybuilding's changed your like envisioning of medicine, or vice versa? How has learning medicine changed your like perception of bodybuilding, like that?
Oh, I think for sure it's made me think about medicine in a much more allopathic way.
Okay.
Um, you know, I think people once I really started delving deep into fitness, I came to realize people are not just our patients, but also doctors. We do a lot of like medical intervention, and we believe like the medical intervention is the important part about medicine.
Mm.
But in reality, general fitness and health is makes like 60 to 80% of what you see in the hospital preventable.
I 100% agree. Yeah.
Right. And so the actual pathology, like people with like syndromes
Mm.
or, real infections, illnesses, those are like the 20 to 30% where it's like if you get them, like man, it's unfortunate, like nothing you could have done.
Yeah.
But yeah, 60 to 80% complications of hypertension, hyperlipidemia, diabetes, all of that stuff with if everyone, was fit and tried to stay healthy, and I understand that this is like a very difficult thing to do, especially for people who live like less privileged lives than, I do. Who have like the stress of like work, needing to make money, taking care of family, taking care of people, but just trying to encourage like general health and fitness within, especially with my general interactions with people, and like helping them realize like, oh, like different muscle aches and pains can be managed without medicine, and it's better to work on those. Like if you don't have to use medicine as much as possible, I would say then don't, and try to focus on other aspects of your life to optimize your nutrition and health. That's, I think, the main thing I learned.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've seen very preventable problems for a lot with my internal medicine rotation.
Oh, 100%. Now I'm gonna sound like a dickhead, but like, woman comes in BMI of 40 with a diabetic foot ulcer that's getting infected with about to get osteomyelitis. It's like, well,
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's steps that could have prevented you from getting to this point, but
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I don't really see anybody with like, I don't see any long distance runners with diabetic foot ulcers. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah, I agree
I
100%.
don't see a lot of them. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, of course. Thank you for having me. It's always like good to chat with you. Thanks for even reaching out, man.
Yeah, of course. I was actually really inspired. I really wanted to comment on the post. I was like, damn, this is really good.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
In my mind, doing anything outside of med school, if anyone's doing it, it's hard. But then I just started getting into like reading about bodybuilding because I was looking at Schwarzenegger's documentary. I was like,
Yeah.
dang, he's actually doing that while he's studying and stuff. It's just
Hey, you should get into it too. I've seen you at the gym. Got a nice narrow waist. You can do well in men's physique, man.
I don't know about bodybuilding. I feel like I don't think that's a passion. I do want to be in the gym all the time. I'm more into
That's
fighting. Like I wanna eventually like get into.
Don't worry. That's how I was like a year before I started, or 2 years before I started. You just gotta stick your toes in there, and once you do, you'll be hooked.
Maybe I'll have to work out with you for like a bit. Then we'll see.
Oh, well, you're in the sack, right?
Yeah.
I'm down to get a workout anytime, man.
Dude, that would be fun. I'd probably learn a lot in just one workout with you.
Yeah, I do feel like I don't shut up when I work out. I'm just always like talking about my philosophies, my ideas on working out.
I think
just
that's good because a guy like me wants to learn like all the new stuff.
Hey, sure, let's get it, man. Like, I mean, I'm down every weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and I work out on the weekends. So, yeah, I'll be in East Sac where me and Larry and Paul Dean live. So,
Yeah. I'll
Free to like
reach out.
jump in time.
Yeah. Sounds good. All right. Thank you, Justin, for doing this.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me again.